come on, don't have such an inferiority complex.
Exactly.
We are not that bad as San Marino. We at the very least, Brunei and
I don't know.
Let's not go there.
Timor-Leste.
Hello and welcome to the Perry Ng Show, which we also call Yahoo Footballing Weekly. With me, Yahoo columnist Neil Humphreys.
With me, Yahoo editor Chia and Keong, and we have Haizam, Manchester City fan, also Singapore fan.
Passionate Singapore Laps fan.
Laps passionate Singapore fan.
Well, I gotta say, guys, this week we do not have lapsed football fans.
My God, you're giving me a hard time every Monday.
This poor man.
I look through to see what are the comments we can use for the thing. We got like a record 60 comments for the.
That's just in one platform.
That's for one platform, and we got like 100 over for our Facebook on just one single topic.
I was on the MRT coming to this podcast and someone sent me a note on Twitter X saying, I've just posted a comment on YouTube. I'm like, geez. And he's a prominent Malaysian football writer. So, thank you again, as always. This Perry Ng, should he play for Singapore debate has really, really touched the nerve. And it's why we have a wonderful sponsor, because we have so many fans. So thank you, and thanks StarHub.
Yep, StarHub, is the official Premier League sponsor, Premier Plus package. Go on and sign up. It's also having some free live screening. Last month, they did it at Capital Singapore.
Very popular.
Quite popular. And they're going to do it again this month. 25th of November, end of the month, at Downtown East, the Marquee Tentage at Downtown East.
Yep.
And it's the live screening, obviously. The match must be good, right? It's Liverpool versus Man City.
No, you two will be insufferable. Insufferable. The director's a Liverpool fan. You're a Liverpool fan. He's a Manchester City fan. What am I doing? Am I just passing the drinks around?
You're the host. You're going to be the host today.
So, big match lah. So, come down to the big screen at Downtown East. Watch around. We may or may not be there. Look out for us.
I'm hoping to go, and my daughter wants to go in the Manchester City jersey. Could I be any more ashamed as a father? Where did it all go wrong?
She has good taste.
She has terrible taste. But I did tell her about Perry Ng, and she even thinks he should play for Singapore.
We've been talking about no-brainer.
What a debate. What a debate. Record numbers of comments. Just to recap, Perry Ng, of course, currently plays for Cardiff in the Championship. One of the players of the season.
Last season, player of the season. He's a British citizen right now.
Yes.
But he has indicated that he's willing to become a Singapore citizen to play for the Singapore national team because he has this heritage link. Yeah. His grandfather, James, is a Singaporean, born in Singapore, later moved on to Liverpool and Cardiff.
And according to FIFA rules, that qualifies him as a heritage athlete. Rules that have been in place for many years.
Correct. But he still couldn't get a passport because Singapore, the passport is you can't have a dual citizenship. So you need to renounce the British passport before you become a Singapore citizen. Right now, there's some easing of the work permits in UK that allows him to continue to play for Cardiff as one of those without a British passport.
I think it's because the fact that he is the academy, the homegrown
academy. He's been resident there for a long time.
So it allows that frees him up to take up the Singapore citizenship and still play for Cardiff. And now the ball is actually in Singapore's court, whether they want to allow it to happen or not.
And it triggered some discussion, didn't it?
Whoa, 60 comments on the YouTube channel, social media alone. So thanks very much. I'll go through quite a lot of them. Hiroyuki Sinchi 9873, he echoes us saying, no brainer. Bring Perry Ng to SG. I always believe that if he or she is willing to give up the original passport and become a Singaporean to work hard and commit to playing for the national jersey, I am always for it. Song Hui Yong has done it. Good enough for me. Now Perry wants to play for SG. Let's go.
I'm with him.
Yeah.
And then
somebody, Wenlong82 replied, said, well, he got some concerns. He said, I don't want it to be an instance that just because some chest thumping or fist bumping player yells out loud that I want to be a Singaporean and then we just cheapskate give it to him without much consideration. That gave another reply from Sunny Ang 6464 and said, bro, SG football is in a slum right now. Doesn't matter if it's fist bumping or chest thumping. As long as they want to play for us, we should welcome them with open arms. Beggars cannot be choosers.
Correct.
That last line somewhat resonates.
And then we got one more after that. Benjamin
Chia, okay. Of course we should. We are already behind other nations in this area. Look at Philippines, Indonesia, even Malaysia. Malaysia already has Sergio Aguero is a striker for...
Yeah, not that one.
Not that one. And now is also possibly naturalizing Leandro Velasquez. Come on. There is no point holding on to old ways of doing things, old ways of thinking. We are barely surviving in football. We are already sinking. This is about survival. And if we cannot do it, stay afloat and be competitive on our own, we need to acknowledge that we need more help to survive. Perry Ng will give us a helping hand for sure. Let's start with him, and he can be the trailblazer for the rest.
Yes, that's the word. I want to kick off with that right here, right now. Trailblazer. Perry Ng can be a trailblazer, just like Fandi Ahmad was a trailblazer for Singapore in the 1970s. Why? Because in the 1970s, Fandi Ahmad represented Singapore. He was a Kampong kid as Singapore was making its transition from third world to first world, right? Now Singapore's in a different place. Singapore is an international, multiracial, multicultural place. Lots of mixed marriages, lots of Singaporeans traveling, working overseas, just like Perry's family, right? Perry Ng represents modern Singapore today, as Fandi Ahmad represented Singapore in the 1970s. Absolutely. And as Fandi was a trailblazer then, Perry Ng can be a trailblazer for Singapore now.
Interesting that you said Fandi, because Fandi was one of the first Singaporeans to play in Europe.
Exactly.
You know, who dared to take the first steps to play for Groningen.
Now it's coming back.
Now it's coming back. Other heritage players from Europe are wanting to play in Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Haizam?
I think the idea of this naturalized players has been for the longest time. I mean, let's give credit. You know, Mirko Grabovac. You know, we had Itimi.
Those are foreign talents.
Foreign talents. You know, foreign talents.
Agul Kashmir, Daniel Bennett,
and the most famous one, Duric. You know, that doesn't mean that if they are not born here, they don't have that pride. You know, and Perry Ng, whose legacy, whose grandfather
was Singaporean,
and who he has links to.
He still has links with Singapore.
He comes back. He has aunts and uncles living here.
Why are we kind of like, you know what? Oh, we don't need this place.
I think you know what, because the Singapore and FAS in particular have been burned by the foreign talent scheme that brought in. There was a backlash if you are in the early 2000s when they brought them in. There was a lot of online talk that, you know, why are we bringing foreign talents to boost ourselves? Aren't we good enough? I don't feel pride for these foreign talents, especially not just in football, in table tennis.
Correct.
You got a whole national team made out of naturalized Chinese players.
There was no connection.
Yeah, there was no connection because they obviously don't have any connections.
Yeah, but if you look at it, this Singapore team is a team sport. Majority there are still Singaporean players.
Yeah,
you know, but why are we dismissing the idea that we cannot have these naturalized players, or we cannot have players who have heritage players coming in?
I don't think FAS is dismissing it, but they are slowly cautious.
I think it's more towards the fans, because you see I think the online chatter was, you can see this, you know, these two sides of, you know, them of like, you know, like, we don't need this player, you know, like, we don't need have this kind of player. But
exactly, which ties in very nicely with Sydney's point, because I'll be interesting to get your take on what Sydney says.
So Sydney Grongs 8467 says, regarding Perry Ng, I agree that we need him to boost the national team. However, let's be realistic here. He wants international caps. You never know. He would definitely choose to represent England over SG if he had that opportunity. Song Wee-Yong is similar in the sense that he wouldn't have converted to Singapore citizenship if he was able to represent South Korea. The difference between Perry and Song is that Song played in the local league for a bit over a decade. Who, in your opinion, is more suitable for the national team? So this brought a reply from our old friend Lingish Kumar, 1230. He said, the bottom line is that we have tried whatever we could previously and did not achieve as much as we would have liked. Why not this pipeline if it's possible, as we will not be the first and definitely will not be the last. Perry Ng, given the opportunity and playing for us, has many positives in terms of competitions, for call-ups for the national team, among others, within our players. Albeit, this pipeline should never be our main and only site. with our focus still developing our youth for Singapore football.
Yeah.
This should be an option. It cannot be the be all and all. That.
Great comment, that, by the way.
Yeah.
That was a very nuanced comment. Well, this is the thing that may shock people. When critics say about Perry Ng, oh, he's only going to play for Singapore because he's not good enough for England, I say, you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Get in the real world.
Yeah.
John Aldridge played for Ireland because he wasn't good enough to play for England. Andy Townsend played for Ireland because he wasn't good enough to play for England. Right now, today, Mikel Antonio was born in London. He was raised in London. He played all his football in London. Who does he play for? Jamaica. He plays for Jamaica because he's not good enough for England. Declan Rice qualifies for both Ireland and England. He plays for England because he's good enough to play for England. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how the real world works.
I think
this boy wants international football, and if he wants it in Singapore, we welcome him with open arms.
And that's why FIFA allowed these heritage players.
Correct.
Because they know that, not everybody can be an England international.
Correct.
Even though if you live all your life in England, you might have some roots in some other countries. Why not explore their options? And as a Singapore Football Association, I think they should allow this option.
Yes.
Think about it. I think there's nothing bad about this, but obviously there's that bugbear about national service.
Which we'll get to.
But it's really very contradicting. You see, like right now, in the league itself, we have players who are half Singaporean, half Welsh, the Ryan brothers, I think.
Ryan Stewart.
The Stewart brothers.
Yeah.
And okay, the most obvious one, Fandi. The Suns.
Yeah, South African.
They're South African. They can choose to play for South Africa. Yeah, but they are not good enough. They will never be good enough to play
That's
for
a
South
good
Africa.
point.
That's
they will
a very
never be
good
good.
point.
No, but the thing is that if they are not good enough for South Africa, but they are good enough to play for Singapore, they choose to play for Singapore.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
It comes back to the logic, like we have a player who's literally begging, come, I want to play for Singapore because I want to really represent the country.
Yeah.
Even though I have not played in the S League all my life. I grew up in UK, but I have my love for Singapore because why?
Yeah.
I want to represent.
And he has his roots in Singapore.
And he's good enough. That's the thing.
He's more than good enough.
More than good enough. Yeah.
We are not dismissing the local players. This is like what you said. It's not
either or.
It's not either or. It's like that's an option. If we have options, that'd be good. Who doesn't love options?
No one is. And this is the point. Why does it always have to be extremes? Nobody is saying we need to fill the lines with 11 Perry Ngs.
no.
We're just saying if we get the option of one or two to work with the homegrown talents and nurture the next generation, why would you not? Just as Antonio is doing it with the Jamaicans. And the Jamaicans, by the way, love Antonio because he's playing for them. Singaporeans should be the same.
Yes, they should.
We should be grateful he's chosen us.
You get a comment like this one from Zulkarnain Hassan.
Yes.
He says, Perry Ng doesn't have an SG passport, hasn't done NS, hasn't lived in SG at all. So why is he then allowed to represent Singapore when others are forced to do those obligations just to be Singaporean? Why can't locals not do NS and still represent Singapore for sports as a national service?
Now that is something that is very difficult. It's a sensitive to talk.
It's a sensitive issue, but obviously there's some point in him. I feel that the NS issue will always come into, and that's probably why FAS are still, does he need to do FAS? If he comes in, should we say that you must do NS before you can represent Singapore? Then that obviously...
Because it opens up a can of worm in terms of when it comes to sports in general.
Yep.
Let's say for instance, there was this, if we don't talk about football as per se, okay? Let's mention this. We have Michael Phelps, who wants to represent Singapore, but he needs to serve NS.
I'd say he was too old, but
during his prime, I'll pass. And we miss that opportunity. We could have a greatest sports person. It's not about bending over backwards to the people. We know
case by case.
Yeah, it's a case by case basis. The fact is that in Singapore, you have foreign players who have to live in Singapore for 5 years continuously in order for you to be able to be naturalized. On the other hand, that's that option where we have heritage players who you declare that, okay, I want to play for Singapore because I have heritage players. Even though I wasn't born in Singapore, I just have roots in Singapore. But the fact that I'm willingly to throw away my career in that sense, in order to play for the country. Yeah, passport.
At very least, a passport.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, until recently about the relaxation of the rules, like I'm willing to renounce my British passport to play for Singapore. It takes a lot of balls.
Of course. And that's the ultimate sacrifice, you could argue. He's leaving the country of origin, his country of birth, where his parents live, to play for Singapore. If that's not national service and sacrifice, I don't know what is.
And a very, very argument, and a big argument I would put for is he is good. He's much better than most of the people here.
All.
Yeah.
He's playing in the championship. All.
Player of the season for Cardiff last season. And now last month was among the English Championship Player of the Week, Team of the Week. So obviously he has talent, and you don't give. We don't always give a citizenship to those whose talents is a bit more controversial. For example, Ben Davies and Haribert Whistle, who hasn't been proven yet. This is proven. The talent is proven, and so it's like Joseph Schooling and Kwok Cheng-wen being allowed to defer NS to represent Singapore in sporting Olympics and Asian Games and stuff. This is a way. This is the other way, where you bring in players to help the thing, even though they haven't served NS before.
100%.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say on the national service thing, I am completely aware of my Angmo-ness, what I'm about to say. There are 4 guys in this room and only one of them haven't done NS. It's me. So I'm aware of what I'm about to say. But I just wish sometimes we didn't always resort to the national service argument. You and I said after we recorded last week's show, we know exactly the kind of pro-NS comments we're going to get. And we did, right? We have to be a little bit more nuanced and maybe look at the ways that national service can be performed in other ways. Durich and Daniel Bennett never did national service. But between them, they've got 40 years of service to Singapore sports. If that's not national service, I don't know what is. Number 2, May Schooling, as a woman, never did national service. But she produced Singapore's only Olympic champion. Her national service, her sports contribution to this nation is priceless. We can serve national service in other ways. Get Perry Ng, train the next generation. His national service will be priceless.
Definitely.
And that's the way I think we have to look at it, case by case.
Yeah. And I think if you look at it, Korea has the best example that we can follow. And the fact, if you look at it, like if for South Korea, having, that tension with North Korea, and yet you have players who succeed in Europe, and not serving their national service, and they can defer their national service. And if they do well, the government says, okay, you have served your national service. Yeah. So we can do that. We can try. I mean, there's no harm trying.
Yeah. The argument is always the size of the South Korea is much bigger. The base is much bigger than Singapore, because we're only like 5 million. They have like 50 million. So that's the difference in base. That will be always the argument given, that once you give one, and then what of the rest?
But then it comes back
which
to
is why you have to
case by case deferment. You have a very strict
really
deferment
go by
policy.
Case by case. Perry Ng is much more talented. You can argue, and there's a valid argument, and then you can proceed on with it, lah.
But that's a nice link to Wen Long's comment, because he's basically saying that even if Perry Ng is a superstar, it may not be enough.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite comment because it's just so funny. Inclusion of Perry Ng or Luke O'Neill from Sunderland, who's also one of those, won't just suddenly make Singapore the Italy of Southeast Asia from its current status as ASEAN's San Marino overnight. To be honest,
you're insulting San Marino, man.
No, which brought a response from Hiroki Shinchi. You said it yourself. Can ASEAN San Marino afford to be picky?
Wow. Well, I mean, look, let's stop the press right now. Stop the press. Shock alert. Bringing in these heritage athletes will not turn us into Italy.
No.
All right? I want to put that out there right now.
Maybe to Austria.
But it might get us closer to Malaysia and to the Philippines, who are doing this already. So it's not a question of us trying to beat Italy. We're not trying to get ahead. As far as I'm concerned, we're just catching up. We're just catching up the rest of Southeast Asia Asia who have overtaken us when it comes to heritage athletes.
And you just brought up that point because last time when the foreign talent scheme came out, we were the pioneers.
We were the pioneers.
We were the trailblazers. And then that brought the snide remarks from the neighboring countries who say, y'all cheating to win. You're actually bringing in foreign. That's
I remember the Malaysian. There was one game, Singapore versus Malaysia. They had a banner. They said 100% Malaysian.
Yeah, but that was a period when Bennett and Duric and one or two others blended with the Adi Iskandars and the rest of it, and we started winning stuff.
Yeah. And then they got jealous, and then they all say, we're cheating. Now it's the other way around. We are trying to catch up with them.
The tents have table.
Yeah. But also, as I would say, like, come on, don't have such an inferiority complex.
Exactly.
We are not that bad as San Marino. We, at the very least, Brunei and I don't know.
Let's not go there.
Timor-Leste are not that. We should be able to be better than them.
Let's not go there because
I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know that because I saw.
I'll put my money on the line. Come on.
I saw us play Guam and. I don't know. I don't want to start World War III. Let us know what you think. Send all of your comments. See how I'm moving away. Send all of your comments about Perry Ng and Singapore. Don't mention San Marino, but send all your comments too.
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on Twitter, Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
Luckily, our final topic is not controversial at all either. This one is just as controversial as Perry Ng. And it's our good friend Rasvinder Singh, who's a regular on our podcast. Tell him what he did and what's been happening.
So he came to our podcast about 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And then because they were about to launch Singapore's first mixed gender futsal tournament.
Yes.
So obviously we thought it's a great idea. And then we brought him on and we talked and we had a chat all about it.
It is a great idea.
Yeah, it is a great idea. I maintain it. So after the podcast, the tournament started, and then he messaged us saying, you know what, the first day there's already a fight on the first day. And then he had to disqualify a team. That's still
not related to the gender issue.
To the main issue. So the tournament happened, and then there was a Reddit thread that came out saying that, this mixed gender futsal tournament, the rules, they got additional rules. The rules seems to be a bit patronizing to women. So they have set aside new rules for the thing. So that you must put a female outfield player in the team, and then say you score if a woman player score is worth 2 goals. Instead of 1. There are a couple more rules and regulations. So there was a Reddit thread comment saying that this is a bit sexist and a bit patronizing to women. Then that brought about quite a good discussion. And people were saying like, well, if you don't put out the thing, all the teams are not going to field any women. They're just going to field all 5-a-side
that part
men.
I agree with.
Yeah, that part I agree with. But I think, like you said, we discussed it before. The scoring two goals.
Yeah, I was not. But we did mention it to him. We did say to him.
I think it was supposed to. Yeah, I think it was supposed to make it interesting and more enticing for people.
Which, to be fair to Rasvinder, for full disclosure, they are doing this more in Europe. Yeah. They are coming up with these gimmicky exhibition type games where they change the rules, give extra points.
Yeah, it's a grassroots tournament. It's not
I didn't expect it to blow up like this. Yeah. Our podcast made national news.
Yeah. Today online quoted our podcast.
We were quoted in Today News, but it went completely over the top. Yeah. Okay. So, Rasvinder's tournament, the first mixed gender tournament in Singapore. What do you think? Do you think it was sexist? What are your thoughts?
No, I think he's walking a fine line anyway.
Yeah.
He's walking a fine line that, and he's doing it blind. There's no precedent.
Yes.
So he just put out the rules, and it's like a wait and see what happens. So yes, the Reddit thread came out and there was some criticism. There were also some defense on his part. I think what he should do now is just to look at the comments, think about it, and see whether there are some parts where he can tweak the tournament. No, they can. It's there. He's the organizer. He can always do it. And just keep it going. I think it's a good idea. I think this thing is a good thing that should keep on going. It's just a matter of tweaking the rules so that it doesn't condescend, it doesn't patronize. yeah, we can always move towards that. But just keep the tournament going.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think for me, it's okay. It's a novel idea in terms of having this gimmicky. Like what you mentioned, it's kind of like gimmicky. But then again, this is how you set people talking about it. Like what get people to be interested in it. Because you see, the thing is that like no one ever thought about this mixed gender futsal thing, and it's a tournament. It's not a full league.
It's a league.
Yeah,
It's a league.
Is it?
Yeah.
So I
Until
think
February,
the fact is like you mentioned, like like you don't have benchmark.
Yeah, no benchmark,
there's
no president.
benchmark.
Right.
So it's something that I think we can tweak, and like what you mentioned, fine tune it, make it accessible. I feel like nowadays people are a bit
Hurt their
triggered,
feeling,
even
triggered.
triggered will be like, like, come on, just have fun. At the end of the day, like, like if you're talking like this is something that is really gonna be something that you're gonna be proud of, like to win, like, but at any cost, then it's on you. It's not on the league. Because the fact is that I think what Russ is trying to do is that get it inclusive to get more female to play football, to understand football. Which is a novel idea.
That's the key.
Let's not shoot something down without even giving thought to it. Like, like, I mean, for me it's like, it may feel patronizing, but then again, like you get women to play, like, if I score, I 2 goals, like, and then you give that idea, like, oh, I'll be more motivated to give my all.
Look, I agree with both of you. A mixed gender futsal tournament in Singapore deserves praise.
Yeah.
It's a bold initiative. It's an original initiative in a country where, frankly, we don't have that much initiative when it comes to local football tournaments, right? So I would never criticize Rasvinder for that. Plus, he's a regular on his show. We know him. His heart is in the right place.
Absolutely.
He's tried different things. Some will work, some will not work. Yes, I actually said to him on the show, I wasn't sure about the goal thing because I went back to my daughter and I asked her and she said, so what, my goals are worth half of your goals? How does that work? It's like half of the value.
Okay.
You get what I mean though, right? Or whatever. So, but he'll look at that. The important thing now is Rasvinder keeps going.
Yep.
Looks at the feedback, and then makes and tweaks it
tweaks
accordingly, as you guys said. What we don't want is for someone like Rasvinder to give up and then the armchair critics win. Because as far as I'm concerned, Rasvinder is literally putting his money where his mouth is.
At least he's trying.
Yeah, he's putting on these tournaments, original tournaments. We need more like Rasvinder, and we need less armchair critics who do nothing.
Absolutely.
You cannot please everyone, to be honest.
No,
with you,
so keep going, Rasvinder.
Yeah, we're all behind you, man.
Yeah, but let us know what you think. Mixed gender football, is it a good thing or not? And Perry Ng, one more time, should he play for Singapore? Send all your comments too.
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on Twitter, and Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
Fantastic. And thanks to you, wonderful guys. We hope to see you in the flesh very, very soon at
Downtown East on 25th of November. That is when StarHub will be doing a live screening of the Premier League match, big Premier League match, Manchester City versus Liverpool.
his mob.
His mob, my mob, and the director's mob.
Apparently, I'll be walking around giving out the curry puffs and the Carol Pock because there's no need for me to be there.
Yeah, we might be there, so that's what he means. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Hope to see you there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Haizam, the world's most chilled out football fan.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on, as always.
It.
And again, thank you for all of your wonderful comments. We do appreciate it. Send plenty more underneath about Perry and the mixed gender tournament. And we'll see you all again, same time, same place next week. Take care.
See you.
Bring Perry.